Aloha! Welcome to the Sharpest College Football Podcast. Island Time. Our Week 13 preview is back. I am BuckMetrics. Robert Martin is still on assignment looking for new headquarter office space for the Sharpest Sports. But with us again, it's been too long. Is Duck, good to have you back. We missed you. How you been?
Been good. Thank you very much for having me back on. Yeah, it's been a crazy last couple of weeks, but I'm glad we're able to do this tonight. I hope you're well as well, and a lot of fun college action going on here. We were talking off air about college hoops and college football season winding down here. It's a fun time of the season.
Absolutely. Now, I hate to embarrass you, but got to do it, Duck. Again, folks, nobody's nicer or just more of a gentleman than Duck here, but the man is a fierce negotiator, and I'll open the kimono a little bit. Again, another holdout with the Sharpest sports executives, and congratulations, though, Duck. You did negotiate your own bobblehead doll, and I'll if you don't mind, here's the prototype. So congratulations on that. I think the executives kind of stuck it to you with a little label maker, Duck, instead of something that's a little more formal than that. But congratulations. These will be on sale, I think, early next year was the agreement, right?
I love it.
Oh, God bless AI. All right, let's talk about some games. First one to talk about Sunbelt. Louisiana Monroe at Texas State given 17.5. My model has this as a overplay. Texas State qualifying by being an well above average offense here. My model has the total at 67. Athena has it at 66. The posted total is 58. You wanted to talk about this, so I'm curious about your angle on this, and I'll just, because I already made a very compelling case for the total in the main pod, but give me your angle on this one, since you brought this one up.
We saw a significant resurgence from Texas State last week, and they're certainly fighting for their head coach and for bowl eligibility. Louisiana Monroe just looks like a dead team walking. They've been blown out the last several games in a row, losers of 6 in a row. They are so run heavy and they play ultra slow. They are at almost a full 30 seconds between plays. They're the 5th slowest team in the country. And they don't have any explosiveness in the pass game. When you look at their successful pass plays, their pass explosiveness, their scoring opportunities in the red zone, it's all bad. And the defense has really taken a significant step back this year. They looked pretty good against St. Francis of PA, and they looked really good at home against Arkansas State. But that's really about it. They have been blown out week after week. And this Texas State offense will be coming after them, and I just don't think Louisiana Monroe can keep up. When you're trying to formulate what this game flow is going to look like, Texas State could score 38, 42, 48, and I don't know that Louisiana Monroe is just going to be able to stack successful plays together in succession to move the ball downfield. And when they do that, if they're able to do that, their red zone conversion rate is really poor. So I just don't see the Warhawks being able to keep up here. I would lay 17.5.
Excuse me. That seems fair. Here's the one concern I had about this total going over is probably my same concern to a lesser degree. This does seem like a light line given just the difference in the two teams. Texas State just, as often as not, the engine just stops and it can't start again until the next game. Now, I think that's more of a occupational hazard for playing the over here than the side. This side could be there midway through the second quarter, I think.
Very possibly, yeah. When you look at Louisiana Monroe, they struggle so badly. They have very little pass rush. There's not going to be a lot of pressure provided to Texas State's quarterback. They struggle to stop the run. They're one of the worst secondaries in the country, allowing over 8 yards per pass attempt against them. It just seems like one where this defense is going to struggle to really do anything. And then as we saw when they played Southern Miss, once Southern Miss connected on a few deep shots, it really opened up holes in the run game. Texas State doesn't have a real effective run game, but they might have a good run game here. I can just see the Bobs putting up a huge point total, a ton of yards, and very similar to what Southern Miss did, 49-21 or something like that.
Okay, the 21 might be a little... Texas State doesn't play a lot of defense, so this might be one of the better spots for ULM's offense, too. Pointing out, let me grab my laser pointer here real quick. Your point about the lack of explosiveness for ULM. Anytime your Ryan per game is in single or double digits, that's a problem. You've got some fundamentals to work out in the passing game there. With ULM struggling, I'm wondering if you're going to rethink, and I brought this up in the main pod here, any rethinking of Brian Vincent to UAB?
I would hire him. No, ULM's talent is just so bad. If you look at the composite talent rankings, they're 127th in FBS in overall team talent. They just don't have a lot of players there. I don't think necessarily that it's poor coaching. I think it's just it's part of the situation. It's when you add up all the pieces in the engine, this is just what it produces.
Kind of a dead end job. I posited maybe Jim Moore Jr. to UAB. That would be interesting. It's relatively resourced, and it's in a good spot geographically too, and especially compared to Storrs, Connecticut. Correct?
I didn't realize necessarily that he was looking to leave that, but that'd be interesting.
I think isn't the UConn coach like always looking to leave?
I don't think he's looking to go back to the NFL. I can tell you that for sure.
True. Yeah. I don't think it takes much to pull a guy from that job. I'll just say that. So that's my understanding. All right. Next one. I'm glad you wanted to talk about this one. This one's really interesting to me, and this has moved a little bit because I think so. This New Mexico giving 3.5 at Air Force. I think this opened 2.5, right?
I think it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a big reason why.
That it moved.
Huge reason why.
Okay, I wouldn't know the move. My guess would be because it was a bad opening line, but I know that's not what you're going to say. So lay it on us.
Air Force's quarterback Liam Zarka is out for the season.
No. Yeah, geez. Okay, okay. So not to step on your punchline here, so I'm guessing you're saying the Lobos are the play?
I took the under when it was at 57. I still like it at 55.5, and I took Air Force's team total at under 27.5. When you look at Air Force, their defense has actually put together 4 straight solid performances by their standards, holding each of their last 4 opponents to under 26 points. This was a defense that was just shredded week after week, but they've been much more formidable the last month of the season. The offense had so much going for it when it had the ability to attack you through the air and connect on the deep shots. They had so much explosiveness in the pass game. You saw it in the second half of the UConn game after Zarka went out. It's going to be a lot of fullback dive, a lot of quarterback follow, not even running a ton of the outside option stuff. It's going to be a lot of inside between the tackles. And they're not as explosive in the run game without Zarka. Should see very little passing. New Mexico has shown 3 out of the last 4 games that they're just completely content salting leads away in the second half. I think we'll see a low-scoring grinder in both halves. I just don't see a lot of big plays here. I don't see Air Force being able to do a ton. This was one where I was really excited about Air Force last week. I thought we'd see them kind of peak. They had chances against UConn, didn't get the win, didn't get the cover, should have probably covered. They had several chances in the red zone that they didn't kick field goals or convert on 4th and short. I think Air Force is in major trouble without Zarka.
Yeah, he was, I want to say, almost a unique kind of talent for Air Force in terms of the ability to do it both. Usually, like most academies in good years, they can have a good passing game, but in limited 8 or 9 attempts a game, and he was just a different kind of cat. He actually was, I think he was an apex leader for 1 or 2 weeks by my metric. I like that play, and what's interesting too, I think Robert's model is quarterback dependent, so I think he picked up on the new QB with Air Force getting 12 because that's not, under Zarka, they're a very good offensive team. They were really fun to watch too, and I hate to be past tense, so hopefully he's better ready for next year. But yeah, I really like that play. Also got to say, Jack Lane, and we see this a lot when guys that move up, Cam Ward, John Mateer, and now Jack Lane. Jack Lane had a horrible, his first couple games, his apex was just laughably bad. And now as a team, apex plus, so this is adjusted for quality of opponent, 125. So he's really come on, and that doesn't surprise me with a good coach like Eck. So I like your play. Since we're talking about the Lobos, do you think Eck has a new job next year? Just kind of haven't asked this about any competent coach because there's such an imbalance between openings and candidates.
Hard to say. He's risen up through the rankings quickly. I think he still might have a little bit more to prove, but he's a very sound coach. He's very good with this program. I would say maybe not this offseason, but certainly in 2 years, if not 1 more year, he'll have something bigger and better.
Okay, yeah. Agree with that. And on the topic of Mr. Eck, I'm hoping he does not end up at the home venue. Although if he's at the home venue this place next year, he won't be coaching UCLA because they're apparently going to be playing at SoFi. And guess what? They can't afford it because that private equity money is not coming in. So welcome back to poverty, UCLA. My friends at Westwood, they're in a bad spot. That's situation normal for them. All right, Washington giving 10.5 at UCLA. This one is so interesting to me. UCLA's kind of come back to earth after taking the wild Jerry Neuheisel balloon ride for about 3 weeks there. And not a bad team. Look, any team in that part of the Big Ten is going to look like they did it against Ohio State. So I'm not going to crush them for that. I'm not going to crush them for being outmanned by these better teams. I think you're seeing some regression, though. You've got such a huge difference in the quarterback play. I know Nico's been better under Neuheisel, but still, DeMond Williams, he rocketed up to like my top quarterback in terms of Apex rating here. Running game's about the same. Obviously, Ryan Walters done a really good job with the defense at Washington, too. Actually improved them. And they had lost some guys, and I was a little concerned about that coming into the season, but he's done a really good job. Washington seems to find a way to not find a way on the road. Given 10.5 is... this is why I wanted to talk about this one with you. All three models have this basically the same game, with Washington getting 31 to 33 points and UCLA 20 to 22, which implies that the line is right. Robert talked a few times about what does he call it, the binomial, or I call it the inverse bell curve, where I don't think it's a 10-point game. It's either like a field goal game or Washington wins by 3 scores here. I'm just not sure. They're such a bad road team that I'm just not sure where we land on this. So I want to get your opinion on that.
A real fascinating situation. Both teams have look-ahead spots, with UCLA possibly looking ahead to USC and Washington looking ahead to Oregon. You're absolutely right about Washington. They've been horrific on the road in conference play. And I want to give UCLA a little bit of a free pass because they have looked bad on the road the last couple of weeks, but they went to number 2 Indiana and number 1 Ohio State. Everybody's looked bad against those teams. So the metrics may not love it, but you almost have to isolate the metrics to pre-Tim Skipper and post-Tim Skipper, as he's done a really wonderful job with that team. They've been playing real spirited football. The defensive effort has just been incredible. I think they make it really tough on Washington, who plays much better at home. And they do have a really electric quarterback in Williams, and he's done a lot of really cool things this year and has a really good grasp of the offense. We see him make plays with his legs, tough to bring down in the pocket, all the different cliches that you want to use. But I don't know. I think that UCLA can give these guys a game.
Wow. I want to look up Washington's. Bear with me for 1 second. I want to see exactly who they've played on the road this year. They blew that. They were so bad at Wisconsin. That's the thing. Gosh. And they beat Illinois. Here's the thing. Wisconsin, even though it's been a disappointing year for them, I think you'd still have more of a home field factor there than the Rose Bowl. That's where I'm going with this. It seemed to be generous to my Westwood friends. It was like a 50-50 split with Nebraska was at the Rose Bowl. And I'm wondering if UCLA might be looking ahead to USC. I'm pretty comfortable that the fans are at this point. I'm just wondering how much this might be one of those weird things where UCLA gets a little dispirited because 40% or 60% of the fans are in purple and gold. And I don't know, but I'm going to talk myself into a pass here. Washington's just such a psychotic team. I can't. I was hoping to, and yeah, it's just you're flipping a coin. They're just best, or hoping they just undo just the trend all year. Okay, gonna pass on this, but we'll definitely watch that. I think it's a night game too, or at least a late afternoon game. Out here, they're all night games for you guys back east. All right, this number's moved too. I think this opened at 10.5. Old Dominion giving points at Georgia Southern, up to 12. My model has this 15-point game, Athena a 16-point game, and Robert's only an 11. Not the touchdown margin that we want to be an official play. I'll just sometimes like to boil it down to this. I've got 3 squads that really are at the same level for a Sunbelt game here, and then you get to the Georgia Southern defense. Surprise, surprise. Old Dominion's, by Sunbelt standards, is a good offense. They had that weird 2-game stretch where I think they lost looking ahead to JMU against Marshall, and then they let the loss get them again. I don't know if they would have beaten JMU, but they were far from the best in that game as well. But all things considered, Old Dominion's a very good Sun Belt team. And Georgia Southern is not, and especially on defense. Even at 12, this line, not notwithstanding what my models say, models plural, this line just feels like it should be closer to. I'd give up to. I'd give at least a field goal more than that. So I want to play Old Dominion here. Now, I am not the most objective person about Clay Helton, the Georgia Southern coach. So looking for a little reality check. Am I being too tough on his truly horrible defense?
No, I don't think so at all. When you look at all up and down the line, as far as the metrics are concerned, almost 7 yards per play given up, 5.5 yards per carry on the ground. When you look at their defensive success rate, they don't stop the run, they don't stop the pass, they don't get off the field on third down, they don't create a lot of havoc in the backfield. They really struggle in the red zone. Let's pull the red zone numbers here quick. 38 of 43 in the red zone, so they are allowing a ton of red zone opportunities. That doesn't even factor the explosive touchdowns that they've given up. It's such a struggle for that team defensively. I couldn't bank on Georgia Southern getting any stops at all. It's just not feasible. The only way that Old Dominion would not cover this number is if Old Dominion beats Old Dominion. That's the way I see that. I think they should score a bunch of points. I think Georgia Southern will throw it around a little bit, so I could see where the over might be enticing, but anything under 2 touchdowns, I think there's value here on the Monarchs.
Okay. And I hate to play this game and get with you again, but he's had a good season, and under the radar at that, though, Ricky Ronnie, can he parlay this into one of those secondary openings? I don't know if this is an ideal fit, but a guy like Eric Morris at a program like North Texas takes an SEC job or something like, let's say he goes to Arkansas. One of those secondary openings. Do you think Ronnie maybe moves up at this point based on this one season? Other than this season, it's been a little North Carolina State-ish. Just a lot of 5, 6, 7 win seasons.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that, and I think he's a great coach. The place that I would look is he should probably end up at Maryland. It's not far down the road from where he's at. It's a regional, easy recruiting sell for him. Still has ties to the area. Loxley is likely gone. That's where I would look, is I would look for him to go to Maryland.
How would that sit with James Franklin, who long ago was the head coach in waiting at Maryland, and then Ricky Ronnie, his former OC, gets a Big Ten job? Well, James is, I don't know. Blacksburg isn't a big metropolis, right? It's out in the hills a little bit from what I understand.
Yeah, I think it's pretty hard to get to.
Yeah, I think James Franklin might have a reaction to that if it should happen. But I like that call. That's a good call. Although when they fire a coach, they always try to go to the opposite. And I don't know if you want an offensive guy like Ronnie. Something to keep in mind. I don't know. But boy, there's just a dearth of... Yeah, not to solve it. All right. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. I'm going to pull myself out. Okay. Good call, though. I like that. All right. My team. The USC Trojans getting 9.5 at Eugene. The total is a little bit above normal or above average of 59.5. Look, I didn't select this game just to tell you that my team has no chance. I select this game to tell you that it feels to me like they have no chance, so I'm begging you to tell me my team has a chance. I'm looking at this profile here. This looks like an inverse version of what we saw when Oklahoma played Alabama, where basically I'm looking at the offensive and defensive power ratings for both schools. So of the 4 squads, 3 of them are as elite as it gets. Oregon both sides of the ball, USC on offense. And you've got the weak spot of the USC defense. And this is just like what we saw with Oklahoma. Now, I think the narrative becomes totally different because an exceptional defense can keep you in any game. And you literally have no reason to fear anybody. And relying on your offense to keep you in a game is just a ridiculous ask, especially in a road spot. Because basically you're saying they have to be perfect offensively, which just... Yeah, that's great if you're playing Missouri State in their first FBS game. At the Coliseum, by the way. Yeah, not so much at Eugene. All the numbers, they say that the spread's just about right here. Just like from a narrative standpoint, I don't see it happening unless just... let me just give you my cases for how it could fall apart. Oregon's best win is not even close to Oregon has not beaten a team as good as USC, or even close. Their best wins are well below. But again, the counterpoint to that is okay, but it's at home. You've got a lot of leeway here. This is a very tough venue. Maybe Dante Moore has a bad game. Their defensive apex has improved a lot over these last 4 games. Now some of that's you're not playing elite passing offenses, but Dante Moore's Apex Plus has come down about 30 points as well. He was shaky against Iowa. Now, that's no crime against humanity. Basically, a lot of people look shaky against Iowa unless you're basically Fernando Mendoza or Jaden Maiyava. Which, again, says, okay, you've got a receiver like Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon. Those are guys that can keep you in any game. So I'm really grasping at straws here. I think Oregon wins. I don't think this is a bettable game, but I just wanted to talk about the game more than any betting angles. But if you have a betting angle on this one, I guess lay that one on us first.
I'll answer the question, but I'll start with, what is Oregon's best win?
Yeah, it's
Penn State?
Penn State, yeah. Who also lost to Northwestern.
Yeah.
You get qualifiers really quick on those.
Oregon has not faced an offense like what USC is going to deploy since they played Indiana. And they lost by 10 to Indiana. I think USC will be...
Indiana's defense is so much better than USC's, though.
Yeah, that's the concern. The concern is, are they just going to completely get run on here, and can they stop the run? Oregon's run game is very legitimate. Number 1 in the country in rush play success rate. They're 4th in explosive rushes. They're very strong in the run game. So can USC stop that? And can they get off the field on third down? I've been impressed with USC and how they've played against physical football teams this year. We look at how they played against Iowa coming back. I was very impressed. We look at how they played at the Cathedral against Notre Dame. I walked away from that impressed with how they played, how they competed against Michigan. These teams that they were not used to seeing that sort of style of football in the Pac-12, I think they have adjusted better than what you would have expected. I don't think that this game is going to be one where Oregon just blows the doors off of them. I think USC will compete for 4 quarters and have a chance in the 4th quarter to really make this game airtight. I think the line is also intriguing because psychologically for bettors, if you see -9.5, you're just running to the window because you think, I get Oregon under a key number of 10. I'm going to bet the Ducks. However, if USC was catching 7.5, psychology would take over and say, I'm getting the Trojans over a key number. I think the books want Oregon money here, and I think that USC keeps this game to within a touchdown.
It's funny you say that because Saturday evening, I was DMing with Isaiah, and I just was looking at the sky, and I said, by my methodology where I take basically what I want on both sides, I average them, and it came to 10, and I said, it's either 10 or 9.5. And I'm going to be really interested to see what Circa posts. They're, to me, kind of like the first whatever. And they posted them at 8.5. And I said, it might be a bigger deal than you think if it's below 10. Because I'm pretty good about what the line should be. And it's weird that just a hook like that can speak a lot to your point. Now, that might be saying, 10 is just too much, and it's not going to be more than a 1 touchdown game. It's not like USC's going to win, but it's just interesting. It's too big to be the line that stinks, but it's a really interesting side of a key number, to your point.
Let's put it this way. I think if you look at some of the playoff teams and kind of where everybody's at, when you power rate Oregon compared to Notre Dame, if you were to do it on a neutral, what would you make that line? What would the ratings have Notre Dame and Oregon on a neutral?
I was actually going through this myself, and I'm extremely bullish on Notre Dame. I had the same thought process, and I came to Notre Dame giving 5. And this isn't like I hate Oregon. Like, I hate Oregon, but I'm objective here, and I think Notre Dame's really good. I don't see a weakness in that team right now. Sorry.
And USC lost to that team by 10. And if that, I don't try to play the Team A beats Team B, so Team B will beat Team C, who beat Team A. I don't try to play that game, but this line doesn't pass the sniff test when you think about how teams should be properly power rated based on their strengths and weaknesses. And Oregon has not been playing to the level where they're just blowing the doors off of everybody and they've adjusted to something or worked out some kinks. They beat Minnesota at home last week, which is not really that surprising, and struggled with Wisconsin, struggled with Iowa, struggled with Penn State. I don't know. I think USC is a little better than people are giving them credit for, and this is call it what it is. This is a playoff elimination game for both. If USC loses, they're out. If Oregon loses, they're out.
I think
And
they're
so,
out. Yeah.
do the Ducks squeeze the ball a little harder, knowing what's on the line here? They've been on cruise control all season, playing these inferior opponents. Now it's time to really pony up. This is where all the nuts are made.
Is that a South Dakota thing? I've not heard that before.
Maybe.
Yeah, interesting, fascinating game. I like the fact that we have these play-in games. I think USC catches a break that this is the CBS game. Thanking all my lucky stars and the gambling gods that this one was not an NBC game, because I honestly think like a 4:30 Pacific kickoff gives it that moves. That's a 3-point margin, at least to me. The earlier the better. I was hoping for a big noon kickoff, but that was not to be. I feel a little better now. Thank you so much.
Yeah, big noon kickoff would have been fascinating. A little Pac-12 after breakfast.
Yes. Do you remember the one time that they did that? COVID, right? First kickoff of the Pac-12 season at the Coliseum.
I don't remember, but I know they did a 9 a.m. local time.
Yeah. All right. I'm fascinated on your take on this next one. Arkansas at Texas, giving 9. This opened, I think, at 10, if not 10 and a half. Does that sound right?
I think it opened about, 10 and a half, I think.
Okay. My ratings, I'm not going to say they're wrong, but my ratings have Arkansas much higher than everything else I've seen. Because basically it says, how good are you on offense? How good are you on defense? We basically add them together, and then we normalize for venue. Just so if somebody's got old road games, we normalize for that. And Arkansas is consistently in my top 20. When I have a strength of record, they're like 60s because they don't beat anybody. But they score on basically everybody not named Auburn. I have news for you. Texas was my underwagon last year. Texas' defense last year was the best that my metrics have ever seen. This is not that team. And I think this defense is getting too much credit in the market. I don't think that the market's got the precision to know all-time elite versus good in this season. And this is a good this season defense. And Arkansas and USC have been duking it out week after week for the best offense in my rankings. And if USC can score on anybody, Arkansas can score on anybody. Say what you want to get about the Texas offense. The jokes kind of write themselves to some degree here. I just think this is way too many points to give. This is going to be. I think this is going to be just punch and counter punch the whole game. I don't see it being more than a one-score game.
It's really interesting, and I don't know really what to make about this interesting matchup. It's hard to understand how Texas might show up here, or if they're going to show up for this one. It's an old Southwestern Conference rivalry, so maybe there's something to that, but I really struggled to find something to get to the window with here. The big showdown for the Longhorns is next week when they host A&M. Texas's offense has just been so jerky all season. They've shown some flashes of brilliance in a couple games, but there's been some games that they've won too that they had no business winning, namely Kentucky and Mississippi State. They have just looked absolutely atrocious week after week. I still think the defense is a nasty unit. 3rd in rushing yards per attempt nationally, 17th in preventing explosive plays, 14th in registering havoc, sacks, quarterback hurries, tackles for loss, that sort of thing. And they do have really good productivity in the red zone, so it could be a little bit more difficult for Arkansas to score. But you're absolutely right. Arkansas has scored on everybody this season, and their overs have been a good play, and their quarterback has played really well. Taylon Green has been completely electric for this team. Real fascinating matchup. I really don't have a strong opinion either way, other than I would probably look to the over. But the problem with Texas is their offense is just so jerky at times, and they can hardly be accounted on to get a first down. They've looked so terrible for so long. I don't know that they have the personnel to get a ton better. So
yeah, and that kind of surprises me. You don't see this. I don't want to say like automatically, but more likely than not a one-score game. So you had kind words about the Texas defense. You don't think that basically Arkansas is going to be able to counterpunch every punch that they catch here?
There's a chance of that. There's a chance that you're banking on a team that's lost 7 games in a row really showing up and caring, and that's the hard thing at this point in the season is, does the staff start putting in rotational players to try to assess the talent that they have for next year? Hard to really just completely guarantee that Arkansas really wants to show up and give a max effort here. That's the additional worry.
You're overlooking how much players love to play for Bobby Petrino, though. Come on.
I suppose.
He said sarcastically. Okay, not a play for Duck. I'm taking Arkansas plus the points here. All of our models have this, like, a 2-point game, a 1-point game, and a 5-point game. All right, yeah. Staying in the state of Texas, another one that you wanted to talk about here. North Texas giving 18 at Rice. When you give me games, sometimes I think I know where you're going. This one puzzled me because you were higher coming into the season on Rice than I was, and they've had some proof of concept, but I think it's regressed quite a bit as we've gotten into conference play. I'm thinking that you like North Texas giving 18 here.
I do, and there's many reasons why I do. You mentioned the offense, which is quirky. It's an inverted triple option. It was made unique at Davidson by Scott Abel, but now you've got a lot of film on it. And so people are able to pick up the tendencies on it. You have an exceptional DC in Skylar Cassidy, who's already faced 2 teams that run option principles in Army and Navy. Done fairly well against both. Army got him gassed in the second half in that one, but I think Army had, 7 points at the half there, and North Texas was up 3 touchdowns. The amount of disrespect for North Texas and JMU in the last college football playoff rankings was staggering. To rank Tulane as the best G5 team, I thought was just such mismanagement of their power. I was really shocked by it. So now you're North Texas. You have to start to put up style points. You have an offense that's scoring 50 points a game anytime they want. UAB, Charlotte, UTSA, Army, Washington State, the list goes on and on. You're scoring a ton of points. Rice is not equipped to play from behind. They are trying to truncate the game down. They're trying to limit the possession count. They're completely okay out-possessing you and getting 4 yards a clip. North Texas's rush defense is too strong to allow that, and Rice can't pass the ball. So that sort of strategy of trying to just out-possess you will be fine until it's 21-3 in the second quarter. And if they don't pivot and change anything, it's going to be what it's going to be. And North Texas has reason to continue to punch in some scores for the window dressing. I think there's a real motivation here to score 50 points. And I think that this game is just going to mimic what we saw when Rice played Memphis, where they were just never in it. They were never within the number. They couldn't throw punches back. We saw the same thing when they played UTSA, 61-13. Really, they've only been competitive in league play against teams that are at the bottom. UAB, Florida Atlantic. I guess they were quasi-competitive with Navy, although Navy kind of just put the throttle down in the second half after being up by a couple scores at half. I think this is the blowout of the week. I think North Texas can put up 52. I've got Rice at about 14. I think North Texas wins this game with extended margin, and they don't have to be overtly rude about it, but I think there's a real motivation to win and put up a huge number here, so I'm laying it with the mean green.
Yeah, you make a good point about the need for style points here. Having said that, I hate that you've done this to me, in that I'm not going to defend the committee, but I'm going to show my work, in that in the main pod, part 2, this is the first time we had our G5. We had 3 different G5 rankings. We had Robert's model, we had the Athena model, and then for BuckMetrics, I also have a strength of record. Basically, how many FBS wins do you have more than a typical FBS team would have against that same schedule? And number 1 in all of G5, surprisingly, was Tulane. Now, apologies if any of these committee members are your buddies, but if any of these ding-dongs in the committee can even explain that concept, let alone show their work, I'd be very impressed. I doubt they got there the same way, but there's probably some element of some smart guy feeding numbers to somebody that can lead a parade there. I'm guessing that's what happened, because it just... Otherwise, I agree with you. Look, and I love John Summerall, but this Tulane team doesn't strike me anywhere close to the best, notwithstanding my strength of record.
Yeah, and you look at their performances, struggled to beat South Alabama, were down by 2 touchdowns at half. Struggled on the road for a while against Tulsa. Was fortunate down at the half against ECU, fortunate to come back. Down at the half against Army, fortunate to come back. They caught Memphis where their quarterback wasn't healthy. Otherwise, maybe it's a different story. I just don't see it with Tulane. I'm glad it's going to get it. We're going to have a chance to get this to play out on the field because I'd love to see them square off against North Texas.
Were you at that game when they played East Carolina?
No, that was in New Orleans.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so you didn't get an up-close view of them. All right, and since it's that time of year, since everybody got fired like in the second week of October here, are we thinking Eric Morris is at a different program next year?
Really depends on what people believe about the offensive system. Some of these Power 4 teams are not looking to hire a system coach, and he kind of has a system that he runs. Could work at the P4 level. I think it's an electric offense, but he's certainly a name I would look at, yeah.
If Drinkwitz goes to Penn State, which I've heard some rumblings about, not that I'm a reporter or anything, I'm really good at making fun of reporters, I think Missouri should look at him. They could do a lot worse. Now, I don't know. There's so many open jobs that I think that you're going to have either some really weird like NFL coordinator hires, because there's not a lot of, yeah, and even like in the power, sorry, you're a guy who gets this too, and this is fascinating to me because I'd like to get your opinion on this. How many the real population is too, I'll expand it to 4. How many Power 4 coordinators do you say, okay, this guy really needs to get looked at for a head coaching job? I can think of one, and it's probably wish casting on my end, so you know who that is, but who do you think?
It's been less and less as we've come through the last 2 or 3 years as coaches have risen up. I think we're still 2 years away from really identifying, oh, that guy's got to have a job. That guy has to have a job. I think that we're just a little bit still on the cusp of that next wave of the great young coaches that are being identified.
Yeah, I can think of 2. And like I said, one of them's a wish casting. It's Will Stein. Get this guy out of the West Coast, please. Just go, I don't know. Go ruin the SEC, please. I'm tired of you, buddy. I've had it. And maybe Mike Shanahan at Indiana. I know it's a little early, but man, I think UCLA kind of showed who really is the brains of that offense in terms of looking at how that's gone with Sinceri leaving. And Indiana didn't miss a beat. And let's not forget how good they were with the Matt quarterback. My Chihuahua agrees here. Okay. Boy, this one, I don't know where you're going on this. I'll predict this before I pull up the game. I think this next game is going to have some kind of wind or weather angle here. That's the only thing I can think of. Other than Charlotte really stinks. They're getting 43. I'm not a fan of just the pray for mercy angle. Also not a fan of giving 6+ touchdowns. So don't know where you're going on this. Help me out here.
Well, Kirby is 0-15 against the number laying 40 points.
Wow. Is it because the Southern Gentleman kind of thing? Is that...
He just uses these games in a different way than somebody like Josh Heupel would. So you have a coach who we saw it against Marshall.
Contrast, by the way. That was
45. Yeah, 45-7 against Marshall, didn't cover. 28-6 they beat Austin Peay. FCS Austin Peay. Georgia beat them 28-6. He just uses these games and manages the situations differently and uses teaching moments for his team in different ways. And that does not manifest itself into scoring a lot of points and covering big spreads.
Interesting. Okay.
Georgia could win this game 77-0 if they really wanted to, but they just don't do it. And Charlotte is not very good. I would imagine there's some sort of level of respect between the staffs. Tim Albin's not really the guy that you want to run it up on. He's not done anything, I would say, egregious in the coaching circles, I would guess.
You make him sound like a guy in prison who just keeps his head down and doesn't piss off anybody.
Could be that. But Charlotte as well, a little bit more feisty the last couple of weeks. 22 against ECU, 20 against North Texas, 14 against Temple, 26 against South Florida. I could see a scenario where, again, Kirby just manages this game the way that he's always managed these games, and you're just not going to get a lot of second half scoring. You're not going to get a lot of the starters playing much more than deep into the second quarter. And Charlotte will throw it around a little bit in the second half. I played Charlotte at plus 44.5.
Wow. Okay.
0-15 against the number laying 40.
Can't argue with that. And yeah, I think that's how he does it. And obviously, you've got one of your rivalry games next week. The last thing you want to do is get Zachariah Branch or somebody like that hurt, and all of a sudden now you're looking at a stupid result at the Mercedes Dome.
Yeah. I'll be on Georgia Tech next week catching 14.
Is it 14?
It likely will be.
Wow. Okay. But Georgia Tech's defense is really, they struggle though, man. Yeah, I think that'll be interesting. All right, we'll talk about that next week for sure. It'll be a challenge to cut the games down next week over the weekend. Yeah, just two dogs arguing here. Stop. All right, last one. Colorado State at Boise State given 16. To set this up a little bit, Colorado State is not exactly impressed in the post-Norvell era, nor did they impress in the Norvell era. But guess who else is not impressive? The Boise State offense without Maddox Madsen. Gutsy, I think. Now you're getting 16, but boy, you're putting a lot of faith in kind of an unproven product named the Colorado State offense. You're also going to make a wager, it looks like here, on a game that I don't think anyone can stomach watching, he said humorously. I guess that's it. Before you tell us your play, you going to watch this one? This is going to be a rough one, right? Just to watch?
It'll be horrific football. I will watch it because I'll have a play on it. But
okay.
two of the most disappointing teams when you look at the totality of the Boise State season, their regular season win total was 9.5, heavily juiced over, and they're going to be at best 8-4. And didn't play well down the stretch, had some injuries, just kind of looked a little choppy with the just some of the way some of those games played out. Started in the opener with USF. I thought they played well against Notre Dame, but not well enough to really seriously threaten. And without Madsen, this offense is completely lost. The backup has just looked absolutely atrocious. They're playing very slow on offense. Colorado State's doing the same. I just see this as spread and total. Let's go to the derivative markets. You're laying 16. The total's 45. That's a Vegas implied 31.5 to 15 or so.
Yep.
This is Boise team total under 30.5, 31. How in the world are they scoring that? They weren't scoring that point total with regularity anyway, and now they don't have a quarterback. The offensive line has played poorly compared to prior years, and it's just one of those situations where they're not at full strength. They're not fully equipped with the skill talent, with the quarterback play. The backup has looked lost out there and looked terrible against Fresno State at home. Looked terrible last week against San Diego State. Just not going to be... I don't see a scenario... Even if they hand the ball off 60 times and they pound Colorado State into oblivion in the trenches, I just don't see a scenario where they score 5 touchdowns. Oh yeah, I'm taking the team total under here with Boise State. It's one of my favorite plays of the weekend.
Wow, okay. I can see that. I would just point out that... let me just make a little bit of a counter case, even though I don't believe it, but I can just see these data points. I'm not going to crush a guy for when he has to come in an injury situation. Just not. If he does great, then great. It's only upside from there. And San Diego State's defense is legit good. So maybe we get more of a view of what this guy can do. Not saying is that something to be concerned about? We haven't really seen this kid's best punch yet.
I think we saw what he could do in the second half against San Diego State when his team needed him to matriculate the ball down the field and put drives together, and they just couldn't complete a pass. And they couldn't
ask a lot though. Completing a pass.
It was so bad.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was 6 of 10 for 17 yards in the entire game, and against Fresno, 10 of 21 for 35 yards. This is not playing against the 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense or the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is middling level Fresno State and the premier defense in the Mountain West Conference in San Diego State. But when you're only throwing for 17 passing yards, that's just going to be major trouble to try to score this many points. If they're going to cover this number, it's going to be 20-3.
Yeah, and you know what? The other thing too, I guess to bring in a bigger picture matter or issue here. I think it's fair to say Boise has a clear, if not substantial, talent advantage over the rest of the conference. Fair?
Yeah, generally they do, yes.
All right. You've got this GGAB plus of 106. That's a real concern. That's average. And if you're average in running the ball against teams that you have advantages at all positions, the running game is the first place that should manifest. If you don't have it there, you've got a problem. And yeah, you didn't do the Mountain West preview with us. I think I've made reference to the fact that I didn't have the stones to bet Boise under, but I knew they were going to regress because their actual head coach last year was Dirk Cutter. And now they have a different actual coach who's not up to it. And that was one reason I liked SDSU last week. Look, I hate to oversimplify it, but you have a guy that can win 6 games at Kent State against this guy who just is figuring out like how to be a head coach. Come on. And then you have an actual defense. One of them has an actual defense. I'm wondering what Boise is for the next couple of years. They just have to hope that this guy catches on. Not saying he's bad, but people don't realize that conference title last year was such a false positive for him as a head coach. Is that fair?
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So, I'll be interested to see, we have a lot of fun football to be played, but I'll be really interested to see how the futures markets look at Boise in terms of season win totals for 26. All right. That is it. Duck, thank you very much. Anything else you wanted to go over? I just threw the games up there.
The G5 races are wild. You've got...
yeah. Please. Go ahead.
You've got Conference USA, which is going to come down to 3, but then you've got 6 alive in the MAC, 6 alive in the Mountain West, several alive yet in the American Conference. Sunbelt is really the conference that's adhered to the divisions, and we're seeing that one shake out a little easier as JMU is going to play against either Southern Mississippi or Troy. But it's wild to see how many of these leagues have multiple teams that are still alive, and it's going to affect the play the next couple of weeks because now style points, computer rankings, all those different things are going to be factored in. So you're going to have this magical computer formula that's created by somebody in the back office that he won't tell us the formula, so we don't know how to move the number without knowing the formula. And yeah, so I think you'll find these teams like North Texas and South Florida is probably too far behind, but some of these Mountain West teams as well, if there's going to be this jumble at the top, you want to make sure that the computer metrics are in your favor. So I think you'll see that play out on the field. Yeah. It's such a tiebreaker year. I've made the case that, okay, we're seeing this too in the power conferences as well. And I think that's just, you've got what reaching its own level in most of the conferences. And in the ACC, it's like what should be top teams basically can't stop shooting themselves in the foot administratively as well as every other way. But gosh, yeah, aside from the Sun Belt, who knows who's in what, right? It's crazy. It's by far the most extreme I've seen. I don't think we're gonna have much clarity even after this weekend. That's unlikely. It'll probably come down to the final weekend, and we'll have a little more clarity on who needs to win and who needs help and all that. But nothing will be decided until. And even the ACC is wild. Our friends over there in Virginia are still alive too. I'm holding a 200-1 on Virginia, and they are still very much alive to win the conference. All they have to do is beat Virginia Tech next week, which has not been easy for them to do, but that's what it's going to require, and they're going to get in.
And then who knows who they're going to play? I guess
probably Georgia Tech.
Probably Georgia Tech, yeah. I'm thinking too that San Diego State's in a really good spot too. I think it's going to. I'd be surprised if they don't make the Mountain West Conference game. Is that pretty fair?
Look who they play next.
Who would that be?
It's on the road. Could be for all the marbles.
Is it New Mexico? Yeah, crap. That's the one team that... Okay.
Yep, it could be. I don't think they both can go. New Mexico can't lose again.
Yeah.
But, yeah, New Mexico is playing such meaningful football because Boise will play this weekend against Colorado State, and then they play Utah State to conclude. There's a chance that they win both of those. If they do, then New Mexico will be out.
I like Utah State over Boise at this point.
That'd be huge...
We spent a good amount of time just crushing that quarterback and that program. I'll put it this way. Same argument that I made for Sean Lewis. How about Bronco Mendenhall against this kid? Come on. You're gonna take this guy, this unknown coach who's yet to prove anything against a coach that made Bryson Barnes a good quarterback? Are you kidding me? That's a resume win right there. Just it's by the head coaches.
While I definitely agree with that, you'll probably be able to catch Utah State plus 5.5 at home, 6 at home. So yeah, the odds makers. I'm not saying that Boise's going to just steamroll through those two, but the odds will be favoring Boise State to win both those two. So that's just
that one.
Yeah. But UNLV and Hawaii this weekend is an elimination game. Fresno State is still in the mix when you look at who they have left. They've got Utah State at home this weekend, and then they go to San Jose State. No more disappointing team in G5 than San Jose State this season.
Yeah.
And then, San Diego State. So you legitimately have 6 teams that are still in the mix.
Yeah. All right, Duck, again, good to catch up, and it's been a while. Glad you were able to join me on Island Time. Next week, we're going to try to make it work where Duck might just join to the Week 14, the very unusual Week 14 preview. Don't have that every year, but we'll try to make that happen if we can align the calendars. So we will catch you then. Until then, good luck this weekend. Thanks, everyone.